This is the Rebel Alliance. This video contains spoilers for Andor, and it is the Empire's goal to spoil it for you. There's only one way out. Clicking off this video and watching the show for yourself.
So, Andor has been releasing episodes since September of this year, and, well, at least compared to the other Star Wars shows, not a lot of people are talking about this one. I get it to a degree. When they announced that they were making a spin-off of Rogue One about Cassian Andor, I was like, you're making a show about a character from Rogue One, which, in my opinion, the character is the weakest part of that movie. Granted, I did like Rogue One, and I was kind of curious to see how a spy thriller Star Wars show, which is what this was described as pre-release, would look like. And after watching it, I am glad I watched this because it was fantastic. I would dare say that this is the best Star Wars in the Disney era. Better than The Mandalorian, better than Obi-Wan, and better than The Last Jedi. Yes, I like that movie. I don't care what you say. So anyway, I wanted to talk about it and sort of give my thoughts. Keep in mind, like the Rebel Alliance said before, this is a spoiler-filled video. So if you haven't seen it, save this video for a later date. But watch this show and then come back to this. And let's get into 3 reasons why Andor is the best Star Wars show to date. Now let me just say right off the bat, I don't mind references when they're done well. For example, Luke Skywalker in the Mandalorian Season 2 finale was really well done. It was tasteful and made sense, even though the CGI hasn't aged as well, even just 2 years later. However, when it's done bad, it feels forced and not satisfying at all. For example, Luke Skywalker in the Book of Boba Fett. That was sort of forced in there, and it didn't add to Boba Fett's story, which is what that show is supposed to be about. But in this show, there's not really a lot of references going on, and it's a good thing. The closest thing you come to a consistent reference is Mon Mothma, but even then, she's a main character, and it makes sense because this show helps tell the origins of the rebellion. I mean, stormtroopers aren't even in this thing that much. Like, I can only think of a couple episodes where they're really present, even then it's only for a limited amount of screen time. Thus far, I mean. I'm making this video after I've watched the first 10 episodes of the show and not the last 2, so I don't know how much stormtroopers are going to be involved in that. But right now, not a lot of them in this show. When they are in there, it's done tastefully and it makes sense. Also, the use of TIE fighters is very good. It makes them feel scary in the Aldhani arc. They feel the most menacing they've arguably ever felt, in my opinion, rather than just some random ship that stormtroopers fly. But yeah, not a lot of references in this. I didn't have much to say about this besides that I liked that the references didn't guide the show along. And here we go from my shortest segment to the longest segment, and that's the morality of this show. Generally in Star Wars, the morality is pretty simple. Empire, bad. Rebels, good. It's nothing too crazy. But in this show, they take that morality and sort of twist it a bit. Like, sometimes the bad guys you want to root for, and sometimes the good guys are not the best people. I mean, the biggest example is Andor himself. He doesn't get involved because of the typical reasons you would expect a rebel would. Like, he saw his plan get blown up or something. No, he killed 2 Imperial officers. And then he's on the run for the show, which is what leads him into these scenarios, essentially. And it becomes kind of morally gray because, like, yeah, he's running with the Empire, but he also killed 2 guys. Even if they were Imperial officers, kind of jerks, it doesn't matter, he still killed 2 guys. Andor is not the only rebel shown in this matter, however. The character of Skeen, who's somewhat sympathetic once you learn his backstory that his brother died because of the Empire. I mean, he wants to steal all the credits from the Aldhani heist where they steal an Imperial payroll. He wants to split half of that with Andor and have none of it go to the rebel cause. I mean, obviously that didn't happen. Andor killed him pretty much right after he said that. But even rebels can be corrupt and sometimes morally questionable. This brings me to Mon Mothma, an established character having to go, in her words, to a thug in order to get proper funding for the rebellion. And he wants his 14-year-old son to meet her 13-year-old daughter, and maybe, they can, according to their clan's tradition, eventually get married at a very young age, like Mon Mothma was established to be in the show. This story brings a further sense of reality to Star Wars. Like, what are politicians willing to do to get what they want? Even if it's a good cause, at what point is the moral line drawn? I've only watched through episode 10, so I don't know how this story ends, but it's kind of a sobering thought that not everything that went into the rebellion was good. Going over to the other side of things, we have our main villain from the first 3 episodes, Cyril. He's after Andor after he kills those aforementioned 2 officers, and he's kind of in it for the right reason. Yeah, he's working for the Empire, and the Empire is a bunch of jerks. But I mean, the Empire was just going to cover this up because these officers, again, were jerks even to the Empire, and they were drinking at the job at a brothel, so it's not the best look for them, even though they already kind of look bad and whatever. He's right about finding the murderer, but he's also a total jerk. I could use much stronger words to describe him. He doesn't earn the respect of his men because he's a jerk, and he doesn't really deserve this position, and he ends up losing it in episode 4 because of his actions. So yeah, what a jerk. Sticking with the Empire, a character you root for at first is Dedra, who is working for the ISB, so again, like I said, the Empire. But you root for her at first because she's working against Supervisor Blevin, because he's, again, a jerk and generally an unlikable character. In fact, I actually rooted for her so much that I forgot she was working for the Empire, and then the kicker comes in. Oh yeah, she may be really smart, but she's also a terrible human being. She tortures Bix brutally. I mean, she has to listen to children of a species, according to the guy who sets up the device, has a really unique death scream, so I don't know what that sounds like, but it's gotta be brutal. It's one of the most disturbing scenes I've ever seen in Star Wars, in any media. It was very unsettling and very unnerving, and it made me just like completely realize, oh yeah, Dedra is a monster and she works for the Empire. If I had a nickel for every time I said works for the Empire in this video, I would probably never have to work again in my life. To her credit, she is actually one of the scariest characters I've ever seen in Star Wars, and that says quite a bit. I mean, her intelligence is definitely one of the biggest reasons why. She's also just intimidating, like, holy crap, I don't want to get anywhere near this woman, like, she's gonna freaking kill me. Yeah. Overall, just a very scary character, and I don't want to mess with her. Okay, obviously we know the Empire is evil. Like I said in the last segment, the morality of Star Wars, for the most part, was Empire bad, Rebels good. But the Empire is the most real it's ever felt. I felt like many of these events paralleled real-life events. It brought it home even further that these guys are terrible. In the, I'm guessing I'm going to call it the Andor Origins arc, the first 3 episodes of the series, not really a lot super scary happens until the last episode where you see
a corporate soldier kill Tim because he was trying to help Bix, who was being apprehended.
It's actually more scary that they're not stormtroopers because you can actually see their faces. Because with stormtroopers, you can kind of make up like what those people look like. It's like, oh, that guy's a buster, or, you know, that guy's a Nazi sympathizer or whatever, or, you know, he likes The Last Jedi. But here, there isn't that element of imagination. It's just straightforward, monstrous, normal-looking people killing innocent civilians. In the Aldhani heist arc, many people are either killed or forced out of their homelands for Imperial expansion and resources. It's not for their own good. It's for Imperial greed. It's not like there was a major earthquake or something. It's just for Imperial greed. It's kind of made me think of the Trail of Tears a little bit, where the Native Americans were forced off their homeland by the US government. And again, this brought this further to reality for me, that these people are monsters. I mean, just because Aldhani is remote and has great resources and it's the perfect sort of expansion for the Empire doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. At some point you have to recognize that, yeah, this planet has great resources, but at what cost are we doing this? But it's the Empire, so they just don't care. The prison arc. This is not only my favorite arc of the series, but it's also where the Empire felt the scariest to me. So Andor gets arrested in episode 7 for walking, I guess, for 6 years. He's in prison 6 years. Has to work a shift every day that's like 12 hours long. And if they make the least of the product, they get electrocuted, essentially. They get tortured. And that sounds awful enough, but when one of the characters Andor is working with dies, they sort of realize that they're never going to get out of this place. I mean, an entire floor was killed because they found out that they weren't getting out. They were just going to be transferred to a different prison to work for the Empire pretty much until they die. I mean, like I said, Andor got arrested for walking for 6 years. Heck, not actually 6 years. He got arrested for a lifetime for just walking. He wasn't arrested for killing those guys or the Aldhani heist. He was arrested for walking. And now he's in prison for a lifetime. The Empire was previously shown like blowing up planets and stuff, which is very scary, but it doesn't feel like reality. This could feel like it happens in real life, like it has happened and will happen at some point in the future. That someone will get arrested for a certain amount of time and just be in prison for the rest of their lives for doing nothing wrong. It makes it all the more satisfying when they eventually escape, except for Kino. That scene was freaking sad, bro. He can't swim. You just gotta hope these guys end up okay after this. I mean, this was a very intense arc. So yeah, Andor is fantastic. After my initial skepticism about the show, I am glad I watched it, and I'm glad I've stuck with it because it's just gotten better and better as it's gone on. It's a lesson you can make a show about any character in any time frame and make it good as long as you have good writing and good characters and you take the time to make it the best it could be. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like and subscribe. You can comment below if you'd like to see me do more videos like this or other videos. Maybe give me some criticism. I'm open to that as well. And I will hope to see you soon. See you later.